All right, my class, my intro to mass media class. Again, I told you we have a very special guest, very special guest. She's family to me, and she's also one of the GOATs in this market. She is unbelievable. She's very humble, but it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure when I can get colleagues and friends to come and impart time with you. Miss Allison Seymour. Her name is synonymous around this area, but what I'm most proud of is this is like maybe her fourth or fifth time either coming to Prince George's Community College or speaking to Prince George's Community College. She's been here with Wisdom in 2007 for a speaker series of mine. She's been here with other colleagues. She really does believe in the mission of the community college, and she really does believe in what I trying to do. So when I asked her before I even finished the sentence, she said that she would come on and spend some time. So again, Allison Seymour and I have known each other for a long, long time. I am married to her line sister, and we have known each other for got to be over 30 years now. So, but we have been colleagues for like 20. She's amazing at what she does. She is unique. She is all of the above. So as I told you, Allison, again, I'm going to just let you do an intro of you and some things that you want to hit on. And then every one of the students has a question for you. Now, I have invited some other people to join the Zoom just because of the grand nature of who you are, but they're just here just because they want to hear some words from you, but it's only the classmates, and they'll wave their hands in this whole Brady Bunch maze, and you'll be able to see the students that are asking the questions that are officially in my class, and then we will rock and roll. So ladies and gentlemen, as we do in my class, let's get some snaps up for Miss Allison Seymour.
Yay.
All right, the floor is yours, dear. Go.
All right, Lou, thank you so much. I don't think that you mentioned that you and I used to like work together. Colleagues in the market, yeah, but then we worked together. How many years, Lou, was that?
Maybe
When you
five,
were okay.
five or six.
Okay.
Got there in 2002. Yeah, like 5 years.
Wow. Okay. The golden years, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh Lord, what
Yeah.
are the golden years?
The golden
Yes.
years.
And
We were so young.
the stories that we have, we will not be divulging
Not
in
today.
this Zoom. Not today.
Not today. Okay. But Professor Holder, thank you so much for having me. And hello to the Prince George's Community College. I have great love for this community and for what you are doing for students of all ages, and students who are trying to transfer to a four-year college, students who are coming back to education, students who got busy having families or had to work or whatever and are now back. I honor each and every one of you there. What you're doing is taking charge of your future, and you're doing it on your terms. And in this time of coronavirus and shutdowns and virtual learning and all of this, I want you to know that this community, you guys are true champions and you're warriors for yourself. And that is so key. And especially in this business that Professor Holder and I have had the honor and privilege to work in for all these decades. Let me just say, for me, my main, what I want to get across to you, my main message today, and I was talking to your professor about this offline, is that I did not go a traditional route into television. I simply did not know how to get where I am today. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know anybody who had done it, who was in the business. I went to Hampton University. We, weren't necessarily known for turning out people who go on to do on-air work. Now there's a whole bunch of brilliant minds coming out of Hampton, just one HBCU that are just doing great things as far as broadcast. But I didn't know what to do. So when I came out of school, I took a job as a desk assistant at the network here in Washington. I started at ABC News in Washington, D.C. So I always like to say I started at the top and kind of worked my way down, but in a glorious way, because it's what I wanted to do. I didn't ever want to be at the network. I wanted to be a local newscaster here in my community. I've spent most of my life in the Washington, D.C. area, and this is where I always wanted to be. So I was there for about 18 months, didn't know I was on a producer track, didn't really want to do that. And that's another thing. Try to get on the track that's going to put you where you want to be. Don't waste a whole lot of time, doing this or that over here. Get on whatever track it is to get you where you want to be, but you have to know what that is before you can get there, right? So really try to understand what that is. Went back to grad school, got a master's in about a year. Found myself in the same position back here at home. So I was a writer, I was a production assistant. I reported a little bit. I worked at some wild places. I worked at a place called Trucker TV. I'm not even joking. Trucker TV. It's like they would pipe in newscasts to truck stops across the country and in Canada. So it's like when you go pump your gas, you know how you see the news come up when you pump your gas? That's exactly what it was. So in rest stops across the country for truckers and so in the United States and in Canada, they would pump in this news like CNN for truckers. Okay. I did that. I stayed there until the place went out of business because it was started by the same people that started Court TV. And I think they paid too much to their higher people, but it was like me and one other cat working there, being production assistants and doing everything. But being there in year almost 5 after I graduated from college, it allowed me to make resume tapes, to go out and do my own stories. So back then we had to have a physical resume tape that we would send to news places. Now, you all, if you want to do on air, you're going to just send links or wherever, put your stuff on YouTube and news directors see it. Back then we had to send physical tapes to news directors. So I was able to make tapes. I was able to duplicate them. And that was when I got my first job in 1993, December. So I graduated in May of 1988. My first on-air job that led me on the path that I'm on now didn't start until all those years later. So you are always right on time. Because I started 5 years later than everybody else, I think I was smarter. I had done all these other jobs before, so I knew what it took before, I went out and did a report or when I sat down on the anchor desk. So what felt like a waste of time truly was just building my resume for when I got to a little tiny town in upstate New York and stayed away from DC for 5 more years before I would come back home. So it took about 10 years from when I graduated to when I started at, I was on Fox 5 when I started there in September of 1999. It had been a good 10 years from when I graduated from Hampton. So you guys, I think that, as long as you believe in yourself, don't let anybody tell you what you cannot do. I remember going on a job interview and it was for an office job. And it was a good job, but it wasn't what I wanted to do because I really wanted to be a reporter. And I remember sitting there and the guy offered me the job and I just started crying. And he was like, "What is wrong? I just offered you the job." I said, "Because I really, really want to do this other job in television." He said, "I tell you what, keep on trying for like 6 months or whatever. If you don't get a job in what you want to do, there's a job here for you." And right after that, I got a job and I was so thankful. So, and that job paid nothing. It paid like $13,000 a year in upstate New York. But that's my main message is sometimes you got to go all the way around to get to where you want to go, but just keep that goal in mind, know where you're going, and you'll get there because I'm living proof about that. So that's my spiel. That was my message today, but I'm I cannot wait to hear the questions from Professor Holder's class, because I'm here and open and I'm excited to share what I know with you. So,
Amen. Amen. So
Professor Holder, that's my
that,
spiel.
that's a good spiel. That's a good spiel. And you know, personally and professionally, I am so proud of you. One, because of the story you just told. Two is that you represent more than just yourself. You know, most of the people on the screen look like you. And the fact that you have gone through your entire career with no foolishness, no stupidity and everything like that, it's just the kind of, it's a testament to you and your staying power in this market. Because as we all know, people in our business move around a lot. So to stay in your one area for over 20 some odd years, that is to be celebrated. And anytime I get a chance to celebrate you and some of the others that I know the backstory to, I am going to do that. So again, I could talk to you all day long. This is really for the students. We had wisdom on Tuesday, and it was the brothers mostly first. Here, the ladies are first. This is ladies' night. This is
All right.
ladies' night. So Rejoice, you're up first. Rejoice, you're up first. Unmute yourself. Wave to Miss Allison so she can see you. Do you see her, Miss Rejoice?
Let me see. I got to make the view different, I think.
Yeah, make it the gallery
Gallery.
view and widen that bad boy up. She's
Okay,
got her
got it.
hand up.
Got it.
You see her?
Hey, hi,
Okay.
Rejoice.
All
Hi.
right, go ahead. Go ahead, Rejoice.
So my question is, what changes do you hope to see happen to your industry in the future?
Well, I still think that we need to be telling more stories, more diverse stories. I still think we need to celebrate all of us more. And I think it's an excuse if you say, well, I can't find this story, that story. There are people doing good in all of our communities that are out here, and I think they need to be celebrated. Mostly in news, it's a terrible saying, and Lou, I don't know if you remember, it's terrible, but if it bleeds, it leads. You remember that whole theory? Like, so usually news leads off with the hard news of the day, which includes the terrible news about things that are going on, in the DMV in this case. But there is always space for positive news, as far as I'm concerned, and for stories that have not been told. And when I say that, I'm just gonna keep it 100 right now. This is still a very much a male, white dominated industry that Rejoice, you and I are going to be in. And I think sometimes you have to fight to make sure that all voices are heard. So I would love to see a story where it's just commonplace and not in February for Black History Month or whatever, where we are right now for, Hispanic Heritage Month, that we're telling all these stories all the time. So that needs to change. And there needs to be more diversity at the top of these newsrooms. I'm an on-air person, but I can tell you that this business needs more brown and Black people as news directors, general managers, as sales office, all of these different voices, because this is where the decisions are made. So I would love to see more diversity at the top and in our storytelling.
All right. All right. Wakanda forever, Allison Seymour. Wakanda forever.
I'm about it.
Khadijah, you're up next. Khadijah, wave to Miss Allison Seymour so she can see you, and then go.
Hi, so my question to you is, what has been your biggest accomplishment in your career thus far?
I think that what Professor Holder said, it really is. My biggest accomplishment, what I'm most happy about, is that I have been in this market for 22 years. Before that, 5 years away in New York and St. Louis. But for me, in an ever-changing business where you look at the news and one day somebody isn't there anymore, it really is. What I am most proud about is my longevity, and I'm not done yet. So that's going to have to be my number one, for me, accomplishment. I feel like if you had told me when I was where you all are that I would have been on television every day in 2023. For 30 years, I would be like, nah, I know you lying, but somehow here we are. So that's going to be that for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that question, Khadijah. Markayla, you're up next. Markayla, wave to Ms. Allison Seymour once you have identified. Rock and roll.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
So I actually have two questions. So my first question is, what challenges did you have to face in your career? And I was wondering what makes you a great news anchor?
Well,
and you are a great news anchor, so receive that. Received. I know you. I've known you for too long. You're gonna downplay the great and just say, "Well,
yes, I am."
The student said that you're a great news anchor. Please receive that and roll with it.
I will say, with humility, I thank you so much. I would not characterize myself like that, but I appreciate it. So let me start with that. I think my strength is the fact that I kind of am what you see right now. I am who, if you watch and you think, you know what, that seems like she could be, depending on your age, could that be my auntie on TV right now doing it? Or is that my big sister? Is that my auntie? Is that my mom doing it? That to me is the X factor of what has allowed me to do what I do and love for so long. I feel like, I'm not going to be, when you hear news anchors speaking, it's no shade, but you often hear a voice like this and it's going to be this talk all the time. And this is where we're going to, I'm not doing that. I'm giving you a story that is impactful to you, to your community, something that you need to know, something that's going to make you happy, something that's going to make you mad and you want to do something about it. So I think my strength is that I'm in this community and the same sensitivities and sensibilities and same things that make me cry. I've just the other day, there was a story about a man whose two kids were hit by a car in a crosswalk, little girls. And when he started crying and said, "I'm sorry, I need a minute," like I needed a minute too. And I was about to go back on, but because I am, a mother, a wife, a sister, a friend, a woman, a Black woman, because I'm those things, I carry that with me. And so it means that if there's a relatability, that's what I believe is my strength. So though I wouldn't use the word great, you know what, Professor Holder, because I know, like I'm from here. I know that you hail from the Great Garden State, but I'm from here. So the people that I grew up with, like I consider those people like great. So I'll let somebody say that when I'm gone. But if I have something that is that is approachable, marketable, and all that, I think it's because I come to it just as I am. I'm Allison Seymour. I come to it that way. I happen to sit on the news desk. And that's that. And so that's that first one. And then you asked me what was hard about it.
Challenges.
I think the challenges are, kind of what they are everywhere. I think that when you are a minority, and in this case, like a super minority, because we need more, as I said, diversity in our newsrooms. You're kind of always fighting to make sure that that news stories are portrayed the right way. So I remember back when last summer, was it last summer, summer before last, when we were seeing a lot of the social justice protests, the Black Lives Matter protests. And there came a time where they had been happening. And so my news director basically said, well, we're going to have both sides. We need to talk about both sides, whatever. And I was like, wait a minute, no, there are no both sides here. The issue is that in this case, Black people are receiving the more of a harsher policing that often, as we've seen on these videos, leads to death, trial by just standing there. You're with a traffic encounter should not end in death. I just saw the other day a man who had no use of his legs get pulled out of his car in a very inhumane way. There is no two sides to this. And if you would like to present two sides, I will not be a part of that. That's probably leading to some of the reasons why I'm not on another station anymore. But for me, there are just some things that are right. And it's difficult sometimes to stand up for those things. But at the end of the day, when you walk away with your integrity, for me, it's worth it. So if I were going to say any challenges, it would just be sometimes getting your voice heard in rooms that you look around and there's only maybe like one, or like me and Wisdom sitting in a room sometimes. And so it's difficult. But like anything else, like life, you rise to the occasion. And if you know you're coming down on the righteous side of something, you ride on the side of that. So challenges, sure. Difficult days, a little bit. But at the end of the day, you know, it all works out. And I hope I've answered that question for you.
Okay. All right, Naila, you're up next. Naila, wave to Miss Allison Seymour so she can see you. That's a weak wave. Can you? I mean, come on. Oh, you did? You did? Because Naila gave one of these. So.
Hey.
Oh, there you go. Naila gave you one. Go ahead, Naila.
Go with it.
Go ahead, Naila.
So my question for you is how are you able to interpret all the information that you receive on a daily basis when you are delivering the news?
That is such a good question. All the questions are good. That is such a good question. So you have a rundown, right? So say for me, my first block of news would be, I don't know, 6 or 7 stories, right? That I have to read. Each one of those stories, I look at it as if it is its own show. This is the one story. This is, so if it's a you know, COVID-19 booster shot story, I'm going to approach that as I'm giving you all this information. There are tricks of the trade when it comes to doing what I do, like trying to make sure that story, you know, it stands in its own integrity. So if I'm finished with the story, so it might be like, you know, half of Americans have received the COVID-19 second dose of COVID-19. Next up, booster shots, and you know, Governor Hogan is saying that those will roll out sometime this May. And then I give it just a second, I breathe, that story is done. And whatever the next story is, we come in with a different inflection or what have you. As far as that's technically how I choose to do it. As far as the sheer amount of information, sometimes it can be really overwhelming, especially when we're talking about senseless gun violence, when we're talking about, you know, all these lives lost because of coronavirus. It can really start to weigh on you. So you just have to know that, just like life, when something comes and it's like terrible news or whatever, you just have to keep that in perspective and understand that I have a duty to present all of these stories to you. And then I have a duty to make sure that I'm taking care of myself as far as trying to get some of that bad news out of my brain, so I don't, you know, so it doesn't consume me. But there have been stories that, it was one story in particular that really struck me, and it struck the whole, I want to say the country, the Relicia Rudd story. I don't know if you all remember that, but little girl who was at a homeless, like a shelter type situation. And her mother, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but she left her in the care of a man who worked there. Needless to say, this did not end well. She has never been found. He was found deceased. But there was video of him walking with that little girl down a hallway, a hotel hallway, and it was known to be one of the last images ever of her. And I have 3 girls myself, and that stuck with me. And at that time, my father was living, and he was a minister, and I actually talked to him about it. And I said, I need to get this out. How could this happen to this innocent girl? And we spoke on it. So for me, long answer to the question, but there are some times when the news gets so heavy that I have to figure out how to purge it for my own well-being. So when it gets like that, I take care of me in those moments too. But yeah, and I hope did I answer that?
Yeah, you did. I wanted to hear your perspective because I know everybody's, who is in news or radio or whatever, how they interpret the news and how they're able to deliver it to people is
Yes,
different. So
yes.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, and that's real talk, Allison. Like, me in sports, they just announced today that they're going to retire Sean Taylor's number on Sunday, officially retire his number on Sunday. You and I were both working at Fox 5 when he was killed.
Yeah.
And whereas other people can turn it off, I was never able to turn it off. I knew him. I was not close to him because you have to have that barrier of separation. But I knew of him. I talked to him and know the way he tragically died. And to be part of that, there are times where I wanted to turn it off. But I'm a sportscaster here in this market, and everybody wants to talk to me about Sean Taylor. They want to talk to me about, Darryl Green. They want to talk to me about the good stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get emotional because he's not here anymore. But I can't turn it off.
Right.
Just like 9/11, we couldn't turn it off. Our colleagues we needed counseling because we could not turn it off. Where other people like, I can't do this anymore. I got to turn it off. That's our job, to keep giving you stuff that is emotional to us, and we got to continue to keep giving it in a way that is fair, that is objective,
That's right.
and that is so many things. It's a lot for us to keep poker faces at times when it hurts.
Yes.
When it hurts.
And I think that when you can't keep that face, it's okay to express that because other people are feeling it too.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay, and it's okay to get help and talk to somebody when you need to let go of all that too, because it's a lot.
Sure. Anne-Marie, you're up next. Anne-Marie, you're up next. Wave to Miss Allison Seymour, and go ahead.
Hello, thank you for coming to talk with us today. I watched you when I was younger, and I really admire your work ethic. So my question for you today is, what do you believe is your purpose as a news anchor, and what do you hope your impact is in your position?
Well, that's easy.
Did she say purpose or focus?
Purpose.
Purpose. Okay.
I was gonna say that's easy. You, Anne-Marie, you just said it. Like, if you have watched me in your lifetime and you enjoyed what you saw, if you thought, if in any small way, watching me and you're interested in this business, you thought, I think I can do that too, then I've done it. That's my purpose. Like I said, when I started, I didn't know anybody personally in this business at all. And I didn't know how to do it. And, I would watch people, I was inspired by people, but I couldn't call anybody I didn't know. And so if at any moment that you watched and you enjoyed my presentation, if it made you watch the news a little bit longer or whatever, then that's my purpose. Like, I love this area. Like I said, I spent most of my life in DC. I'm in Maryland now. I love this area. And what I'm doing is giving the information that people need to hear in this area. So for me, I just feel, I feel very grateful and blessed. And I still, when I get up and when they count me down to start in the morning, I still get that feeling like, wow, I cannot believe that I'm actually doing this. So, that's just it. Like, my purpose, I feel like I don't know what else I would be doing. I really love what I do. I love morning news because in the morning we're also, we're doing a little bit of smiling, we're doing a little bit of ad-libbing, a little bit of sharing opinions. We're talking about things, and we live here like we're local and we're live in the morning. And for me, that's exciting. It's gratifying. So that's my purpose. And if I can inspire anybody, like I was inspired by the people who came before me in this market, then I've done it. Like that's it.
Wow, that's a good question, Anne-Marie, and great answer.
Absolutely, good question.
Great answer, Allison. Let me see my ladies. Bamet Casa. Could you wait? There she is. There's Bamet. Go ahead.
Hello, Miss Allison Seymour. I just want to appreciate you for coming in to speak with us today. And secondly, what an honor it is to have you speak in our class. My dad and I watch you on television every morning as well.
Thank you.
As we all know, not only is this media industry strongly male dominated, but the entire media industry itself definitely holds more challenges and obstacles for women to enter, let alone succeed in. So I just wanted to ask you, what would you say were the steps you took to gain both respect and success as a local newscaster?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for watching. Tell your dad I say hello. It's interesting. It's almost like the same thing that's gotten all of my ladies, and because we're talking about women in the business in this specific question, the same thing that's gotten you all to this point where you respect yourself, where you're not afraid of hard work, where you're not going to let anybody disrespect you. Like, we all have bosses, and so we have to answer, to these things with bosses. But I want you to remember too, these managers, bosses, or what have you, they are human beings just like you. So I don't want you to ever be disrespected, to be talked down to be, treated like you should be beholden to your career or all of this. A wise woman once told me in the business, always walk into your contract negotiations willing to walk out. Don't go in there like, oh Lord, I need this money, God. Please don't let them, whatever, because I'm going to have to do whatever they say to do as far as, cutting this or treating you any kind of way or making you feel like you should be so grateful to be there. You should be grateful within yourself that you're realizing your dreams, but don't let anybody disrespect you. Period. Be willing to, and that means like making sure your finances are together, or that you're willing to do, like, I had 2 jobs before my first on-air job because I was just trying to fund my dream, right, of getting on air. So make sure you have that backup plan. So you're going to take that same energy into your job. You're going to be, as women, it's unfair. We have to walk this tightrope of being approachable, but not standing for no foolishness, right? We have to we have to be a boss, but not be looked at as, the other B word, when they're gonna like say, a man's gonna be a boss and you're gonna be the other B word, right? There's a little bit of that you have to just be like, you can't control how other people, what they're gonna think about you. As long as you know that you are in there working hard, that you are in there, pulling your weight. What we do for some people seems, glamorous. I have had the question, do you get your hair and makeup done before you go on? No, I do all of that myself. It is the only thing that's semi-glamorous about it is because TV's kind of cool. So you turn on the TV and there is somebody, right? And so that is the cool point of it. But the rest of it it's hard work, it's determination, and it's knowing that you deserve to be in the position that you are in. So all of that stuff, I mean, it's not an easy answer, but you have to carry all that stuff inside of you, and you have to stand there in your capability and know that you are the person for the job, right? And so the stuff that you need to do, though, you can't, like, for me, when I was younger, like, I really couldn't be at the club, like, turning all the way up because, like, on Monday, I'm on TV talking about like what the president did. So you can't really take me seriously, right? So I think that's something you need to think about. Like, this business is demanding, especially now that everybody has a phone, like a social media, right? So yes, you can be cute on Saturday, and you can, on Saturday, but you can't post everything, because now when you're talking about, the 500 million, however, people who 500,000 people who have died from COVID, or 700, it's hard for people to take you seriously. So you have to have that self-respect. You have to present that way. It's a balance, because you still have to be approachable. You don't want to make enemies along the way, but you got to be strong in this. And so it's not fair, but I'm here to tell you, at my big age, as the kids say, it's like, this is what being a woman is in a professional woman in America. So you can have your fun, you can do whatever, but make sure you're no nonsense when you show up at work, so that people know how to treat you, because they see how you treat yourself.
Very good. That was very good. Very good.
That's a long answer, but it's not easy. Like,
It's not easy.
it's being a woman, it's being a working woman, it is what it is. So,
Yeah.
and in this business, let me just add this real quick. When you get to also be a certain age, like, people are checking for all of it. Okay, how much weight has she gained? Is she too this? Is she looking too old? You rarely hear that stuff about Lou, sorry, but you don't really get that same sort of scrutiny as a man. Wrinkles on a man look distinguished. Wrinkles on a woman, everybody's got something to say about it. So it's a tightrope, but you can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's real. Thank you for that, Mehmet. And I will kind of dovetail off of that. Allison struggle as a woman is my struggle as a Black man, is another person's struggle, because in sports, if I'm not a former player or something like that, it's almost like I'm up against, I'm up, and I'm actually in the reverse, I'm up against women, right? Because now sex sells, and there's a lot of women that are doing sports right now that I'm more qualified than them to do that job, but because they're a woman and they're thinking about that, I have to deal with some same stuff on my own. So the struggles are real in television, because the fact of the matter is, it's one of the most coveted seats in all of America, is to be on television. Everybody wants to be on there. And once you get up out of the chair, and that out of the chair could mean anything from you being late, you're not looking a certain way. Once you get out of the chair, they're going to put somebody else in that chair. And the struggles that Allison and we can tell you over and over again, but to keep with B's theme, Allison is totally right. It's not fair, but again, how you look can get you in the door, but your character is going to keep you there. And Allison Seymour's character has kept her in this market for 22 years. 22 years. That's why, to me, she's one of the GOATs, because she could have been dismissed so many times. If what she said is true, she could have been dismissed so many times, but you can't do it, because her character and her staying power in this market will not let somebody be that stupid to do that, at least consistently, to somebody that's so talented. So very good question, B. And we got to talk about it. The real talk in this class is, you got to talk about the white elephants in the room that people don't talk about. And there are the women issues. And then the women have to do a lot more to stay around than the men do. So Allison, when you were here in 2007, the theme of my talk with you was the changing face of communications. And that was in 2007. We're in 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Was it 17 that you were? 2017 when you were here. 2017 when you were here. And since then, it has played out like a champ, right? The changing face of communications. So before we get to the men, I kind of don't want that moment to leave. How has this whole social media and what employers are asking you to do as being social and things of that nature, how has that actually been incorporated into your job as stuff that you now have to do that you didn't have to do before?
My gosh, it's like another job. It's a whole other job. It is. Like, I happen to be off this week, but I felt like, oh, I need to be posting something or whatever, right? I've taken this week to try to post very sparingly, but it's everything. Like, I have these two different Facebooks. One is Allison Seymour TV or what have you. I had to change it when I left Fox, but yeah, it's just another source because people get their information in the palm of their hand for the most part. Like, I'm hoping that this whole business model will continue, at least till I'm out of it, because, people don't have to wait for news. You don't have to wait till 11 o'clock at night anymore to get your newscast. Like, I remember when it was like that one newscast, it was like a 6 o'clock and then 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever. It was 11 o'clock. It's completely changed. It's a part of it. That's why, I'm not here to be like, you don't have fun on your social media, but just remember, like, these employers, when you are going out there getting that first job, they are looking at your social media. If it's a whole bunch of, on it, that could be a deal breaker for real. And then also when I was hired just recently, almost a year ago at Channel 9, like, they were like, oh, your social media is great. You got these, followers. Okay, it's great. It's right in line with our values. So it's just another branch of who you are. And it's how people learn a little bit about what your interests are, like a little bit about you personally. And so I share a little bit of that and a little bit of news and what's going on. But it's a whole nother, we have entire digital teams now. All they do is post to social media and the websites and everything. It's a player is here to stay. And I don't know if it will one day take over what we do, because again, information is just so easily available now. So it's everything.
Yeah, you said something that probably the most profound thing, that was one of the most profound things that has ever been said in my class. You said that the people at Channel 9 said your social media following is right in line with their values.
Yes.
Now, social media is part of news organizations' values. Not you being able to tell a good story or being factual. Your social media is now right in line with their values. That's fascinating to me. It's unbelievable that somebody would actually utter those words, that our social media is now part of our value system as a news organization.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Right.
So, but that's where we are. The fellas love you too. The fellas love you too. Miguel Garcia, wave to Allison Seymour. You see him?
Hey, Miguel, I see you.
All right. The fellas love you too. The fellas love you too, Allison.
What's going on, Miguel? What's on your mind?
Thanks for joining us today. And my question is, at what point in your life or in your career did you think or say, this is what I want to do? Like, I'm happy doing this and this is what I want to do.
Wow. People who know me, they say, I'm not surprised you're doing this because you talked about it in high school. So I think that I always knew, like the story that I shared with you when I had gotten a job that wasn't in television, the emotions that came up to think that I wasn't going to realize my dream of, at that point being a reporter on television. And so I think that after I started out in a small town in upstate New York called Utica, New York. By the time that I had gone to my next market, which was another small town, Binghamton, New York, and I was promoted to be their evening anchor, and they were always like a solo anchor at night, and it was always a white male. And when I got there, they brought in these consultants and they said, you ought to think about putting her on the news desk to be a co-anchor with, the guy who was there. I was so shocked. Like, I had no idea really what I was doing necessarily. And so I said, okay, because that's another thing. You might not think you're ready for it, but all of this, sitting in this class right now, all of this is preparing you for that launching, if you will. So when they offered me the job, I said, okay. So I was the first woman on their nightly anchor set, first person of color, period, on there. So it was a big role, and I felt embraced by that small community. And when I started, another big thing about the job that I do, job that Lou does, is we're often asked to speak at places, we're emceeing stuff, we're giving speeches, we're, graduation speeches, we're doing all of that. And when I felt fully embraced by that community in Binghamton, New York, upstate New York, I felt like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, like an impact. I had this family, this little boy, happened to be a little white boy. And I'm only saying that because, so much of it is, as a Black woman, this is how I come to this, but this little white boy loved to watch me, and his mom was going to have a baby. And so he asked his mom if he could name the baby Allison Seymour. So they actually came up to the station to visit me, and the mom explained, well, I can't name our baby Allison Seymour, but I can name her Allison. And so in that moment, I'm like, I'm here in upstate New York, where Black people are still getting called colored at that time in the early 90s. It's a whole thing. And it somehow got through to this little boy who's about 6 years old. There was something on there that, that he associated with, or that he liked about me. And I felt like I am where I am supposed to be. So that was pretty early in my career. I felt like this is what I want to do. I don't know what else I would be doing. And so I just kept going for it. After Binghamton, I went to New York's capital of Albany, worked there for 2 years, started the Fox Nightly News there, like Fox 5 here, started that there, went to St. Louis, Missouri, and then came on back home. I never thought about stopping. So, but when I really felt validated was probably my second job, and that would have been in around 1995 in a small town in upstate New York called Binghamton.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miguel. That's great. That's great. Michael Johnson, Mr. Michael Johnson, wave to Miss Allison so she can see you, sir, and then rock and roll.
How are you, Mrs. Seymour?
Hi, Michael.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
My question for you is, what's it like being a reporter in a time where, news is deemed as fake and people think that, news isn't reliable nowadays?
Oh, that's a good one, Michael. Fake news. That's a good one.
Let me just say, that there are a lot of things as a journalist that I really cannot say. I'm not even supposed to be talking about like political views but I think that some things are so huge and outlandish that it's okay for me to speak on, especially in this circle right here of love. It really, how do I even say it? It really affected me in a negative way when we had an administration that stoked fear, division. I mean, you can't stoke it if it's not here. So it's already here. I understand. I'm not naive. I understand that. You can't stoke something that is not sitting there in a pot ready to be stirred and stoked. But in those times where the press was out and out vilified, and I believe if some people had it their way in Washington, that the majority of America would not think that they could believe what they saw on TV about, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with all of that misinformation. It actually made me stand a little taller as a journalist. It actually made me feel like we have more of a responsibility to keep on putting out correct information. It's like, I don't know, it's like being it's like being in a school and you're being bullied, right? And so they're saying, fake news or blah, blah, blah. And you're like, it's real. I'm giving you real news. I'm giving you some facts right now. And, I have to keep on fighting to give you those facts so that it will counter some of the nonsense that was being perpetuated, still is sort of forced on the American public, who, I'm trying to get my words together so I'm not offensive, but who will believe something, as long as it makes them better than other people, as long as it makes them superior in ways to other people, they're going to believe that this is misinformation. I just saw our former president say that a statement within one of his rallies, speaking on the Haitian migrants that are trying to come in. And he made a statement like, you know, this would be the worst thing that would happen to our society. Okay, that's misinformation. If you say, okay, so CNN saying, well, some Haitian migrants are being allowed into the country, and you know, and they're finding jobs, or they're whatever, just like the Afghan refugees are, and they don't believe that. It just becomes an ideological difference. And for me, as a person of color, like, I know that a lot of that has to do with racism and supremacy, and wanting to stay on top, and wanting to have monuments, you know, honoring the Confederacy standing. And it's going to be deemed misinformation or fake news if you try to talk about the history in this country and why we're still fighting, all of us, to be a more perfect union. And so for me, when being a journalist in this time feels important, you know, it feels like a service. That when I said, okay, I want to be a reporter, I want to be an anchor, I want to be on TV and give information, it just feels more valuable and important. And all I can do is keep on doing what I'm doing, knowing that I have triple checked sources, knowing that what I'm saying is correct, you know. And so, you know, it's difficult. It was maddening, especially at the height of that. It's still going on now, but all I can do, just like you, Michael, as a Black man, all you can do is continue to be on that good path. All you can do is continue to be responsible and respectful and strong and kind and professional, all those things. And you just have to keep on, because there are going to be people just like fake news who say, nope, Michael Johnson he's a thug. He ain't doing nothing. He's like just trying to be out here letting the government take care of him. He's a criminal. He carries a gun, all these things. Do you see what I'm saying here? It's like, when you know it's not correct, you can't really fight off a lie. All you can do is continue to live in your truth. And I feel like it became more important for journalists to stand in their truth, because we were being attacked. And if we're attacked, then you don't get the right information, because the goal is to silence us. Does that make sense?
That's a great question, Michael. Thank you so much for that, because that is the real. That is the real. Yeah. Well said. Well said. Dewan, you're up next. Dewan Pringle, you're up next. Keep these brief so we can get to everybody. We got Timothy, we got Brian, we got a whole bunch. So go ahead, Dewan.
I just have a quick question. So Miss Karina Delgado talked to us a couple days ago, and she said she first joined the military before she even pursued the career in this field. So what do you say about someone taking a different route, although this may be their dream, taking a different route before they jump into this business? Because it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to be a news anchor overnight. So what do you say about that?
Well, Dewan, I mean, that's my story. Like, my story isn't the military route. My story was getting tea for folks doing network news. You know what I mean? My story was going back to school. My story was being a production assistant, and all that means is doing anything that the production needs doing. I was a writer. I was all of these things. And so my path was like this too. And I feel like whether you join the military, whether you need to work to get a little bit of money in the bank before you can pursue all of this other stuff, there is no wrong way to do it. There really isn't. There is no wrong way to do it, as long as you keep that goal in mind, is that that's what you want to do. But the pathways in are great, especially through the military, you know, especially through the military. My oldest daughter, she's interested in medicine. And we just got finished talking about this. Like, medical school is so expensive. And if you joined, the military, you'd need to serve, but you would also be able to go to school and not get all that debt and all of that. So I'm all about it, like whatever you need to do, but just keep that goal in mind. And just keep the goal in mind. There is no wrong way to do it. But if you feel like this was a passion in your heart to do it and you have a mind for it, go for it. Just get back to it.
Good stuff. Thank you, Dewan. Gabriel, you're up next. Gabe, you're up next. Wave to Allison Seymour so she can see you, Gabe. All right, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, Gabe.
Okay. All right. So, excuse me. My question for you was, were you ever nervous when first getting into television? And if so, how did you deal with that and, just get better at that? Or if you never were nervous, how did you have that confidence?
Oh my God, I'm nervous every day. I'm nervous right now. I stay nervous. It's like that adrenaline piece, you know what I mean? And you care. So you want to do the best job. So I keep that adrenaline right now. But back in the day, if you could see some of those early tapes of me on TV, you'd be like, girl, how did you make it? Because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing, and in small markets. So I was producing the show. I think I was anchoring a noon show. So I would produce it. I'd write half of it. I'd put the teleprompter. I'd tape the paper together and then run the teleprompter myself. If it went down, it just all went down. It was sitting there by myself, right? So, but that's how I got better too, because I worked it out. For me, I always talk about my 5 years before I got back to DC, but those 5 years allowed me to work it out. It allowed me to understand how to slow down, enunciate, how to put two thoughts together, how to try to ad lib a little bit. How if they're in my ear, we wear these earpieces, so the director, the producer is talking to us. I learned how to. You have to ad lib. We have breaking news right now. 3 people are hurt because a metro train derailed. Go. And you don't have any information. You are working it out. It's much more than just scripted television. And if you want to be a reporter, then you're out there in the field. You're getting your story together, and then you're presenting it if you're doing it live for a newscast. So the way that I worked it out is easy. Reps. Period. Doing it over and over and not letting your nerves get the best of you. And just because you had a bad day or a bad news read the 10 minutes before, you got to keep on doing it because, baby, you on TV. So it doesn't stop. You're on for a half an hour. If you had a bad 5 minutes in the beginning, you still have 25 minutes to be on TV. So you get it together, you talk to yourself, whatever you need to do, be like, I got this, let's go. I remember just a real quick story, because I know we're up against it now, but when I was in Albany, New York, when we were starting, it was only my second anchor job, basically. And I had a terrible read. I could not get any of these words out of my mouth the right way, right? And it was a guy, a coworker of mine. So the news desk was right here on the air. It was a coworker of mine, off, you couldn't see him. He was right to my right, writing a story. He was there. And I just was like, I can't do this. What is wrong? I cannot speak. And I looked over at him and he was like, let's go. Second block. Let's go. Right. And as weird and corny as it seems, I was able then to suck it up and keep moving. And it's easy if you think that somebody's grandmama is at home waiting to hear this next story. So you have a very short amount of time to get your stuff together and keep on moving forward. So I'm nervous all the time, good nerves now, but the way that I worked it out was not quitting, because I knew I was built for this. I had to get up to speed on it, but I knew I was built for it. So that's all inside.
Great stuff. Gabe, can I tell you a story real quick? Can I tell everybody a story real quick? I am out at Redskins Park, and I'm doing the morning show for Fox 5. Allison Seymour is on the desk. And one of the coaches, one of my stories was I was going to run a route like a wide receiver, right? So I fell on live TV. Allison is cracking up. Everybody's cracking up, cracking up. I ended up tearing my ACL, tearing my knee. Then later on, my partner, Dave Feldman, he even got a quote from the head coach saying, "What was Lou doing out there?" I mean, it was a big thing, right? I mean, Gabe, I fell on that on local television, and Allison, who's supposed to have my back, could not stop laughing.
It's funny.
I mean, it's funny for her, but not for me, right? So I'm nervous every time I go on the air. I'm like, yo, this could go terribly right, or it could go terribly wrong. But again, we're human. We're human. And if you're like Miss Allison said, if you are not feeling adrenaline every time that light goes on, then you're not in the right business. You should be a little nervous because of the fact that you are looking at that camera knowing that people are depending on you.
That's right.
Right? And the more and more you, Lou Holder starts off in Atlantic City, then goes to Hartford, Connecticut before he gets to Washington, D.C. Allison Seymour goes to Utica, goes to Binghamton, goes to all these places. So when she gets to Washington, D.C., Allison and Lou are not worried that on the other side of that light, there could be 8 million people watching us. It doesn't faze us anymore because we put in our time, Gabe, in those other places to be that kind of nervous. Now, when we get to this, it's just a fun adrenaline, like, yeah, I'm about to bring it like you have never seen it brought before, because that's who I am. But it's still nervous. It's still nervousness. It's still nervous. Did I kind of, besides you laughing at me, Allison, did I kind of cover everything?
But you know what? You know what? The lesson in that, though, Lou, is that nobody's going to remember if you did it perfectly, but they're going to remember that you were imperfect about it and that you finished, that you got back up, and you might have been in pain like a what, but those are the moments. Those are the moments that make this thing exciting. And
that's Gabe, that's coming from the person who didn't tear their ACL. Brian, you're up next. Brian Lopez.
Hello.
Hey, Brian.
Well, I think we all have something or someone who motivates us. So my question for you is, can you name someone who has motivated you to choose this career?
Good stuff, Brian.
That's great. Yeah, that is great. So I had thought about this. It's a weird story about how when I was little that I actually thought, like, I didn't know what the job was, but I saw this what I know now is a promo, it's a commercial for the news on. And even as a little girl, like about 8 or however old I was like, I don't know what they're doing, but I want to do that too. And then, like I said earlier, I knew since high school. And right around that time, I didn't really say much, but right around that time, my mother said, I think you'd make a good TV reporter. Like, I don't even know where that came from, or if I don't know how we were thinking on this same thing. But ever since she said that, it gave power to a dream that I had. Like I said, I didn't know anybody who did this, but that my mom saw that in me, that I could do that. And my mom she had been a teacher, she was a social worker, but then when we came along, she decided to stay home. She was our family's backbone. She was my dad's greatest supporter in the work that he did. And she was also our greatest supporter. And so when she said that, I felt like, yeah, I can do this. And to be quite honest, I believe that she is my motivating factor, that she thought that I could do it, made me, actually, I should say that she knew that I could do it, made me think I could do it. And so I'm going to say it was my mom. It was my mom. And growing up, there were people in this market that I watched, people who look like me. And I thought I sort of model myself after them, the job that they were doing. These are people that you all aren't going to know they're not there anymore. The Maureen Bunyans of the world, J.C. Haywards of the world, Carol Simpson at ABC News. And so I saw these people and I tried to be like them. Somewhere along the way, I found my own voice because I think that's important. You have to be yourself. But it was my mom at first. And then I looked on TV as a teenager and saw people who looked like me. So I thought I could do it too. But I love that question, Brian. Thank you.
Good stuff, Ryan. Good stuff. Christopher, you're up next. Christopher, you're up next. And Allison, again, I will preface that is not marijuana behind him. That is not marijuana behind
Let me put
Christopher.
my glasses on.
Yeah,
That in there.
that is
Okay.
not that is not medicinal.
I wouldn't
That's
know.
whatever. Go ahead.
No. Anyway, Christopher.
Go ahead,
What is your
Christopher.
question,
I hope you all realize that me and Allison are like brother and sister. So if you see us go off a tangent, we gotta bring it back. We gotta bring it back. Go ahead, Christopher.
Fine, it's fine. So my question for you is just growing in this industry, you said to yourself multiple times that you didn't have anybody you didn't have those connections to really support you and get your name out there. So my question is, now that you're here, now that you're at this point in your career, how did you get here? How did you make these connections?
Yeah. Internships. I can't stress it enough. I started doing internships after my freshman year in college. I was in communications at Hampton. And so, I was able to just talk with the department chairs about like how in the world do I make this transition? How do I do this? I mentioned that I had gone to graduate school. I went to the University of South Carolina. There I was in not really an internship, but like a graduate program where I ran the student news program on the radio station that was associated with the college in South Carolina. And so all along the way, all that's doing is networking. Now you're making contacts. Now, even though you don't know somebody personally, you're getting that experience. So I had that internship. I interned at Channel 4 as a senior. I did other work in between. And it allowed me to, though I felt like I really couldn't call these people and be like, hey, but how do I actually get a job? That would come later when I just sent out all of these resume tapes, just sent them out everywhere, hoping that I would get a bite. So I just did it the old fashioned way. It was hired, and I went for a job as a reporter in Utica. And when I got there, the guy said, okay, yeah, you're going to report, but you're also going to anchor the noon show. That came a little bit later. You're going to run the assignment desk, right? And you're probably going to be pitching in producing. So in those small markets, you're just doing everything. But it was just that, it was internships, it was getting the experience, and then it was just simply applying. But it took me, let me not downplay this, it took me about 6 months to get a job. During that time, I was working retail, and I was working at it used to be around before Starbucks, like a place like Starbucks called Gloria Jean's in the mall near me. And so, yeah, I was working those 2 jobs. I was sending out resume tapes, and I was waiting and hoping to get a job offer. And the one job offer after 6 months that I got was in Utica, New York. And it was, again, maybe the living wage at that time. It was like $13,000, working a full-time job, working from, like, I would go in, it would be dark. When I would leave, it would be dark. So, that was just it. At that point, it was hard work, because really, even if you know somebody, that person has to know somebody in a market that's going to hire you. Because even if I knew somebody, they would be here in DC, and I wasn't ready to start in DC. So you kind of have to, forge your path. But once you do, nobody can take it away from you. They can't take that experience away from you.
That's good. That's good. That's very, very good. Very, very good. Good stuff, Christopher. Timothy, wave. There's Mr. Timothy. Go ahead, Tim. Tim, you there? Okay, go ahead. Okay, Tim, you're frozen. You're frozen. Alistair, I'm gonna come back to you, Timothy, in a second. Alistair, go ahead, Alistair, you're up. Go ahead, Tim, we'll go come back to you. Go ahead, Alistair.
So you mentioned that you went back to graduate school to get a degree. So I just wanted to ask, do you think that higher education is necessary to acquire a job in the media field, or do you think that you get a job based off like experience or connections alone?
I don't think that you need to go to grad school. Like I said, I just didn't know what else to do, and I had gotten basically a scholarship if I ran the news radio station. So I just went back to school. I think that if you do pursue another degree, then I think it's worth having it in a different specialized an area of different area, like if you go back, get a degree in political science or whatever, so now you have communications and political science, or pre-law, whatever, then you can speak on things, if you want to be a commentator or be a guest on things or be this media specialist in this different field. But I think it is not at all you do not need a master's degree in this business. I'm not sure about a 4-year degree, but I'm not sure. You know what? I really cannot speak on that, actually, because I don't want to say something that's not entirely correct. Everyone that I know that I work with, they have bachelor's degrees. But as far as masters and all that, I don't think it's necessary. I don't know that it made me more marketable either. It just made me, I think, a little bit smarter, more well-rounded. That's just for me, just because I didn't know what else to do. So does that get to your answer right there? I think experience is key. I think that when you go for that first job, they're going to want to see internships or that you've done something in the media somehow. And look, these days, if you got a phone, you're a citizen journalist or whatever. You put your stories up, it's like that, maybe that's your experience. So there are all different ways to get to it. But I would definitely, if you're interested in the business, I would go on and read some of those job listings and see what they require, just so you're prepared for whatever it is. So you get out there and, because even as qualified as you are, if you don't have, like coming home to DC, they asked for 5 years of experience. I don't know what it is now, but I happen to have those 5 years of experience. So do some research now and figure that out. But I can say with certainty, you don't need like a master's degree or God knows a PhD or any of that for the business. It's changed a lot.
That's true. That is so true. A PhD and a master's degree, Alistair, is not going to let you be able to read that teleprompter any better.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd just be an educated person that still can't read the teleprompter, right? They want experience. They want experience. And I'm telling you, I've been telling these students, Allison, because it's what we know. It's not what you know, it's who you know and who knows you.
Yes.
I can't think of one job that I've gotten in this business that I didn't get with a connection from somebody else, right?
Well, you know what?
Because the job openings that are up there, honestly, they're really up there so companies do not get sued for EEO complaints and, you were racial hiring and this and this and that. They put it up there, but they know who they want to hire because they've gone through the person's agent or whatever like that, because they know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. They've been looking at people, but they can't go out there and say, I like this Black person right here, I'm going to hire them, right? They don't do that. But no one sits there and says, I like this person because they got a PhD. They don't, because if the PhD person be like, I can't read the teleprompter,
and
they're not hiring you.
Right. And they're going to assume that they're going to need more money to come on, because you got to start paying down these student loans. So and I will say, so my first job in Utica, I was there for about 8 months. The guy that was my news director left and went to the station that I ended up being at in Binghamton. And you're right. Like once you get in there, then the ball started rolling. Like he said, hey, this is a great station. You should think about trying to come. And I went there, and then the same thing. And then the ball started rolling, but sometimes it's hard to break in, but once you're in, you definitely count on networking and who you know. And that's why you got to do a good job, because they're always watching somebody. When I got to this the reason I got to this job in DC was because Catherine Green. Did Catherine hire you, Lou?
She did.
Yeah. So Catherine
Let's
Green.
move on.
What happened was, though, I was in St. Louis and she called me and said, how would you like to come home? I had no idea that she knew who I was watching any of that stuff, but they're always watching, they're always scouting for talent. So, you know, but Lou, as you alluded to, there's some very difficult personalities. That's why you have to be able to stand with your integrity and in your truth. And sometimes that means
walking away,
change of action, just like
absolutely.
Let me be living proof of that. And we got Tim. What happened to Tim?
Tim, are you there now? Just on audio? Are you there audio, Tim? Man, I really wanted to hear what Tim had to say. But again, it is 1:47, class over at 1:45. I want to be really respectful of the time. Wisdom went to 2 o'clock. That boy just kept talking and talking and talking. So I want to be really respectful of the time. Allison, thank you so much. The love is real. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Allison Seymour and her time. Again, as she just mentioned to you, this is her week off. She's not working this week, but still thought it not robbery to come speak to the class. One, because of the connection that I have, and two, just that, again, and I think I can speak for Allison, on TV is what we do, it's not who we are.
Yes.
Well, who we are is innately in us. We want to give back. We want to succeed. We have children. We know what it's like. And again, if no one came to speak to us in our classes, and I know, I'm hoping that a word said by Allison or somebody is going to inspire you to either do it or actually say, you know what, I don't think I want to. Either way is good. We're here to educate because the business is what it is. It is one of the most rewarding things I have ever done, but it comes with a lot of landmines that you got to navigate. And if you have the knowledge and you have the power and you have the passion, you can do it successfully and you can have a career just like Allison, just like Lou Holder. You can have that career if you want it, but you gotta want it. You gotta want it. You gotta, I mean, Utica, New York, really? Binghamton, really? Hartford, Connecticut, really? But if you want it, you'll do it in front of 5 people, in front of 20 people, in front of 8 million people. If you really want it, you'll do it. So any final words for you before I let you go, Allison,
No, I mean, I see my lovely line sister in here, your beautiful wife.
Yeah, that's the after party. That's the after party.
I just want to say hello to you, Mrs. Holder. No, I just want to say that, you know, if you have the passion, the drive to do this, I want you to really believe that you can do it. You know, I want you to know that when I came out of college, I wasn't sure how I was going to get there, even though I had these internships. It seemed insurmountable. It seemed like there are only a handful of people who do it. Who am I to think I can do it? But I want you to know that you can do it. If you want it, you can do it. It might not come overnight, and you might get into it and be like, no, it's not what I thought it was. But at least try, because we need you. We need good storytellers. We need people who care about the community. We need people of color. We need different voices. We need people who are going to ride for, you know, this area or wherever you are. People who believe in information. Yeah. And also people who aren't going to let these voices, like Michael talked about, like that are spreading these lies and would be so happy to see things status quo or the way that they used to be 50 years ago. They're all too happy for that. I don't want that to happen to my kids, my grandkids and all that. So I'm depending on you all to do it. And not just on TV. I'm talking about management positions. You know, I'm talking about in the sales force. I'm talking about behind the camera. There are all these positions that are out there, and this career can be rewarding if you put in the work for it. So I want you to know that I believe in you. And
real quick, Allison, Timothy has responded by the chat because he has some technical issues, and it's a good one. My question is, what keeps you motivated? What keeps her motivated being in the career for so long? What motivates you, Allison Seymour?
Well, it's just that. It's just when I meet somebody on the street and they, you know, and they, before COVID, you know, you want to hug and they're like, you're my girl. Like, we were pregnant together. I like how you deliver the news. I like that dress you wore the other day. I feel like I can trust you. That to me, it's a responsibility. You know, if somebody says they feel like they know me, how do you know me? Like, we've never met, but it's something that that you see in me that's relatable. And that keeps me going. It keeps me going when I saw somebody the other day and they're like, my grandmother loves you. My God, to think about a person who is like 85 years old who loves me, like, I receive all of that love, those good vibrations. I know that I'm standing on shoulders here. And so I have a responsibility to myself, but moreover to the public who trust me to keep on going, because I'm not gonna be out here lying. I'm not gonna be toting a company line. I'm not going to be giving information that I know is insane because it was written on a press release and this is how it's supposed to be. No, I'm a thinking person, and I bring that to you in the morning. And if that resonates with somebody, then that's what keeps me going. And I think it's still resonating, so I'm gonna keep going.
And let the church say amen. 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 All right, class, I'm going to post where we're going next because I want Allison to stay on. I'm going to post where we're going next in the Blackboard in the next half hour. So I'm going to tell you what we're going to be doing next week in the in Blackboard in the next half hour. So everybody say goodbye to Miss Allison Seymour. You all are free to go. Say goodbye to Miss Allison Seymour. All right.